You're listening to Neurodivergent Mate. Hello and welcome to another episode of Neurodivergent Mates. I'm your host, Will Wheeler, joined with my good friend, Gemma McLean from the Redlands. Where I come from. I only just remember that. What's going on, Gemma? Gemma with a G, not a J.
Thank you, Will. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I first saw this a little while ago and I was like, I wish I was as cool as that to be on that podcast. And hey, dreams do come true. And yes,
never say never, right?
But also a little known fact, well, actually everyone knows I manage the local Facebook pages for our community. So I mum voice everyone in my community here within the Redlands. So if anyone tells you to be kind on Facebook when you're fighting with one of your neighbors, that's probably me. So thank you.
Oh, that's you. Yeah. It was sort of funny when I first met you. I think you said you grew up in Mount Cotton, correct?
Yeah, so I might as well have grown up here. I've been living here for quite some time now. So yeah, Brisbane is absolutely home.
Yeah. Well, Brisbane's definitely home for me. It's definitely the Redlands was definitely my stomping ground, but I more came from Wellington Point back in the day. Right. But and like Redland Bay and all of those areas, they were more like farmland and everything back in the day. You know, but now, no way. No, if you can find land in Redland Bay, you'd be lucky because, actually, they're doing a lot of infrastructure there at the moment, but it's going pretty well, you know.
We even got a new school, which is fantastic.
Yes. My mum showed me last time was it last time I was up there? I think so. I can't remember. But new school there down in that used to be like cow paddocks and all that.
Yep. So there you go. Redlands, it's the place to be.
Yeah, crazy. But I tell you what, we've got an awesome topic to talk about today. So what we're going to be talking about is breaking the mold without traditional education. But before we do get into that, I better do some housekeeping. I can tell you right now for all of our listeners, it's actually been a while since I've been on the podcast doing this. We had a few unfortunate things happen that we had to halt the podcast for a little while. But I thought, you know what, if I'm gonna get back into doing the podcast and all of that, I've got to have my main friend Gems on the podcast, someone who's going to really rock it with me, you know. But thank you so much for coming on. But look, if this is your first time checking it out, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe, like, and follow to all of our social media platforms. We're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, and also to wherever you check out any of wherever you listen to podcasts, please subscribe to us. Like us, do whatever it is. The more you interact with it, the better it actually helps with our algorithm and gets out to more people. All right. Also, too, please check out the work we're doing with Neurodiversity Academy by going to neurodiversityacademy.com. We've just got a whole bunch of new articles coming out, a whole lot of blogs from a lot of the past podcasts. So, Gemma, this is going to be turned into a blog probably in the next couple of weeks, and you'll see yourself out there a little bit. So hopefully that some people will be able to interact with that and really get into this. But look, to tell you the truth, more than anything, I do want to just let out a bit of a warning. Some discussions may be triggering for some. If you need help, please reach out to a loved one or call emergency services. We are not doctors. This is a space for sharing experiences and strategies. You're not a doctor, are you, Gemma?
Not yet, but look, anything can happen, right? Like anything.
Totally. The reason why I ask is sometimes I do have doctors on here. Yeah. So it's sort of, when I do share this, it's sort of like we're not doctors, and it's like, well, actually, one of us actually is, you know. So it's all good. But look, if you are listening to us live, please feel free to ask us questions as we're going through the live stream here. Just put it into the comments into wherever you're watching us, And please feel free to ask away. The more the merrier. It just makes it really cool. But look, Gems, I think, enough about me. Look, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're doing now.
Thank you, Will. I firstly just want to call out when I first met you was at Valg last year. And it certainly made an impression because of the fact is I love the work.
Sorry. Before you say that, I want to say something before that, which is incredibly funny. And I think it just explains your personality. I had first met you at Valg, yes. But
in real
life. Real life. But I received like a LinkedIn post like pick me or something like that. Like I'm like, I don't know this person. They're like fully like pick me. Well, I love what you're doing, blah blah blah. And I'm like, who the hell is this? You know what I mean? So that was like whoa, what's going on here? But yeah, I was compelled to meet you at Valg. So yeah, I needed to throw that in there because it was hilarious.
No, it is. And the thing is, I am just like, I'm excitable, right? When I see things that I believe in and that I'm passionate about because they create impact. I kind of have a FOMO issue where I think that I can do everything and be involved in everything, but I have to remind myself that I am literally one person with a full-time job, and I'm a mum and I'm a friend, and, I have this big, massive life, but I want to be involved in everything. Like, literally, if it was up to me, I wish I was Hermione, how she could do that spinny thing and be across all different subjects. That is what I would want, nothing more in this world, right? But yes, I did send you a very excitable LinkedIn post because I think you were requesting people to be sit on your board, and I was like, oh my God, that is me. I even think I shared my ADHD diagnosis post with you and said, hey, see, I'm legit. I'm not just, So, okay, who am I and what am I doing? My name is Gemma McLean, aka Gemma, but that's typically what I get called when I'm in trouble. But I am currently working for Instructure, which are the builders of Canvas Learning Management System. And that is why I was at Valg. So I've been at Instructure now for almost a year this time, but I previously worked for them. And I am here by accident. So I accidentally fell into education. And I can tell you that story because I was working in a job that I absolutely hated that was around data entry, and being undiagnosed ADHD, I was constantly making mistakes because attention to detail was not my thing. A job came available selling vet textbooks, and I was like, great, I love vets. I love animals. I can go and sell textbooks into vets. Didn't realize that it actually stood for vocational education and training. And that's how I ended up in education, because I was uneducated on what vet stood for. So I think that that's a really funny story. But now that I am here, I love it. So yeah, that's who I am.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's the perfect job for you. Being in free. I think and for myself, I love meeting new people, and I think personally, I wish I was sort of had gone in that type of direction as well. But you know what? It's not as easy to get into those type of jobs. Did you know that?
Into sales?
Yeah, like I've tried to like go into like things that I've known before, and I've been like, look, I've worked in like this, I do this. No one will touch me because I don't have that experience behind me. Yeah, totally. And I think, man, you're giving up on like a perfect person to go in and like fully kick goals, and like because my resume doesn't show it, I hardly ever get calls.
Well, what you need to do is you need to send crazy LinkedIn messages like that, and then it gets people's attention, right? Like any publicity is good publicity, and I will hand on heart say that I am not afraid to actually get my point across. I encourage anyone. One of my side hustles that I do for free is help people get jobs. So I'll do their resume for them, and I will tell them apply and then ring them, because nothing comes across on your resume. You need to show and drive your passion, right? And the only way that you can do that is either face-to-face or on the phone. That's it.
Yeah, I think for myself, especially being an entrepreneur and building Neurodiversity Academy, the last thing I need to be doing is going out and searching for jobs at the moment, but it's all cool. But like we said, we wanted to come on here today and what's that noise?
I don't know.
Oh, it's like I swear I'm hearing this weird noise or something. But anyway, what was I going to say? So yeah, like we said, we're going to come on today and we're going to talk about breaking the mold. Okay, so traditional education, all of that type of stuff. Now, let's start right from the beginning here. What was school like for you growing up? And I'm sure it's probably similar to mine, but let's hear your experience.
I was always the naughty kid at school. I think it was because I was bored. But I always wanted to do well. So I always wanted, being a girl, I just always wanted my teachers to like me and to make my parents proud. And so I can remember when I was probably in year 3, I identified that school and the format wasn't for me. I came from a small country town, growing up in the bush, riding horses and doing all of that kind of stuff, to then having to spend time in the classroom and being told to sit still and, do all of those things. That was really difficult for me. Also, I really struggled to retain the information that was being fed to me by reading. I'll hand on heart put my hand up and say, I hate reading today. If there is any opportunity for me to avoid it, I absolutely will. That hasn't changed, right? I wanted to be good at it, but I just wasn't. I was definitely more creative. I was definitely a talker. I was constantly in trouble for disrupting the class. So school, I always felt like an absolute outcast. But I wasn't dumb. So when I actually did my tests and all of the things, like I was good at it, but I just didn't like to conform. I hated being told what to do. I hated jumping through hoops to prove myself. It just didn't sit well with me. I actually I quit school. I haven't finished high school and I haven't been to university because I hated it so much. And here I am.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. I don't know about yourself. Like, school was difficult and, maybe your teachers didn't like you and all of that, right? And, people are like, I don't know if people would sort of tell you that you'll never be able to achieve certain things because, you're not paying attention and all of that. And like, for myself, like I would fail my tests and all of those types of things, right? But in my mind, it was so strange because I didn't feel like I was stupid or anything like that, but I was made to feel as if I was stupid. Yeah. And I think they're two different things, because, there would be other things I would do. Like I was really into sports and all of that. And especially now I'm getting older, I'm noticing, especially getting into business and all of that, I run rings around a hell of a lot of other people in regards to a lot of things that I do, right? But, back in school, I was really good at sport and things like that. And then I couldn't really excel in the classroom, but I was automatically cast as like dumb, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think it's one of those things, and I love this quote so much, but it's, if you always judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's always going to be considered stupid, right? And I have this conversation with my son all the time, who I recently got diagnosed as well. And we were sat there at the kitchen bench and he was losing his brain because he has learning difficulties too. And he was getting so frustrated because it was a comprehension task where he had to write and read. And I said to him, okay, let's remove the reason what you're doing. Let's try and understand why you're doing it and the skills that you are learning by doing this particular task. So when I actually broke it down to, you're doing comprehension because your teacher says so, I broke it down to, hey, these skills are actually teaching you how to find facts, how to, all of the rest that goes along with it. He was actually more inclined to do the task because he could see it was for a purpose. And I think that there's those little tweaks that, the reason why school didn't agree with me, because it was just like, you need to learn these spelling words, because if you can't, well, you're not going to amount to anything. The amount of time I have been told that, Will, is hilarious. And the amount of times that I get goosebumps when I talk about it, right? Because for me, I'm really proud of where I have come, considering that my brain wasn't my best friend.
Yeah, it's amazing. Hey, it's amazing. And I think that's really important to get across to younger people. I think, you know, I know for myself towards the end of high school, you know, I was gone. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't want to learn anymore. I didn't want to do certain things, right?
Right.
And it threw me for a very long time. I you know, left high school, got heavily involved with the wrong people, very heavily into drugs and alcohol for a very long time there. And because I thought, you know what, I'm never going to be able to do certain things. But I think to myself now, I'm like, damn, man, if I had been able to, like, you know, have that confidence to start with, I probably could have been a lot further ahead than what I am now, type of thing, you know, which was interesting. But hey, hang on. I just saw that we've got someone who's commented on the what we're talking about, Michael Twist here. So learning for me is about learning how to learn. So that's so that I can gain the knowledge I need to do anything I can imagine. Awesome, Michael. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. But yeah, what does that mean out of what Michael just shared there? Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think, you know, as I said, I did not finish high school. I have not been to university. And some of the people that I have worked with and their big brains, and I'm in absolute awe of anyone that has a degree, master's, PhD, or where their educational journey has taken them, right? But I think it also comes back to there are different skills. And I think if my soft skills were a part of a degree and you were able to credential those and provide certifications on soft skills, I think I would have a PhD and be a, you know, a professor.
Yeah,
and
professor.
100%. But I think it's about understanding the reason why you have to do the thing. And I think that that's sometimes what's forgotten about with ADHD people. I often say that I asked for the time, not how the watch is made, right? Like I just want short, sharp, succinct answers. I don't need to know the whole big fluff as to why, because normally I'm 10 steps ahead of everyone anyway. I just need to know why you want me to do the thing, and I'll go and do the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Hey, out of curiosity, when you look at like your son's homework or whatever he has to do, right? Does it puzzle you even now with some of that work that he has to do? Or are you like, oh, yeah, I get this?
I probably shouldn't admit this, but I am, first of all, I sell a learning management system. My son's school doesn't have a learning management system yet. They use OneNote, and it is very confusing. So I can imagine for a child to work through that who is already struggles with, you know, learning difficulties to navigate that. But also the thing is, thinking about my relationship with education, I think determination will get you further sometimes, right? So I don't like to fight my son on doing his homework and that type of stuff, right? For me, it's easier to actually give him cultural knowledge, experience, because I know that he's smart. He's super duper intelligent, right? But he just can't perform. So yes, Will, when it comes to doing his homework, there are certain things that I'm like, I don't even want to do it, so we're not going to do it. Like it is literally that. But will I take him when I worked at Amazon? I would take him into AWS with me, and we'd go to user groups, and he would learn through that, right? I think that the exposure and experience that he has had far outweighs what he'll ever learn at school. I say to him, I don't need you to be the smartest kid in class, but I need you to be the kindest. And that's what's most important to me.
Yeah, totally. I think I couldn't agree more. You know what I mean? I think, and it's so funny. I think, oh, you know, my parents definitely brought me up to be a kind type of person. And I think for, you know, some parts of my life there, because I was very confused, I was trying to be someone who I wasn't and trying to be maybe that hard ass and all of that type of stuff where I'm just not that type of person, you know. Don't get me wrong. If someone pisses me off, I'll tell them to go get fucked. You know what I mean? But, you know, but I think, to tell you the truth, I think that side of me comes from being in school when I was a kid and having to stand up to the teachers and tell them to get stuff sometimes, you know what I mean? Because they were like probably more bullies than what some people, and not that I was bullied a lot, but like the teachers were the bullies, some of them. Not all of them. Some of them were awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's the interesting thing, right, as well. Like, that's what I say to my son, that, you know, become friends with your teachers, because your teachers don't come to school to discipline you, right? They actually want to help you reach your true potential, right? And if you're a good kid in class, you'll just completely fly under the radar, because it's easy, you know what I mean? Like, it's so much easier. I think about some of the teachers. I once got in trouble because I had a big fight with my drama teacher because she told me I was a bush pig, right? And so we had a big, massive fight, and but again, I know that I was mouthy, but it was because I was bored. I spent a lot of time in the timeout desk, like, conforming to try and prove myself to other people just pissed me off, and it still does, right? The justification around what I do and why I do it really annoys me. So I think that with school and traditional education, that kind of, you know, having to prove that I understand this particular concept makes me cross. There's more than one way to do that, is what I'm saying, I think.
Yeah. No, totally. So when did you realize traditional education wasn't for you? So, like, you were saying that you didn't finish high school or anything like that. What was, I suppose, what brought it to go, you know what, that's it, I'm done, I'm out of here type of thing?
So I remember at Maria High School, which is where I went, they were nominating for, obviously you have your captains of the school, and then you've got all of the prefects, and I wasn't allowed to have one of those positions because I was too naughty. So I was like, watch this for naughty. And I quit school. And at that time, I had the principal following me around because I had to get a signature from all of my teachers to sign me out of school. And he was constantly saying, please don't do it. Like, you know, she's got so much potential. Whereas on the flip side, the teachers couldn't wait to get me out of their classroom. They're just like signing their lives away, going, see ya, and booting me out. So I think for me, that was enough, because I was like, you know what? Like, yeah, I know that I'm naughty and I wag a lot and I talk a lot, but I also know that sometimes that's because I challenged the teachers, because I would ask them difficult questions that they didn't know the answer to, not because I was being a smartass, just because I wanted to know, right? So for me, that's when I left, and that's where I went to vocational education. Like, I am still a die-hard passionate fan of vet, because it really saved my life.
Yeah, no, I suppose that was probably the turning point for myself as well. So I did finish grade 12, but I failed it. I've even got like my I was looking through my folder the other day, and I've got like my you get like your end of whatever it is certificate, and it's like 0 out of 25 I got, and then the lowest marks for everything. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to frame that one day and have that in like my office and all of that type of stuff as like a, you know, reminder of like, you know, anything's possible if you really, you know, work towards stuff. It doesn't matter about marks, you know, and even share that type of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm a testament to that, right? Like, again, somehow I ended up working at Amazon Web Services, one of the largest global organizations, and me, who didn't finish high school, never been to university, didn't know anything about technology, ended up there selling into Department of Education, Queensland Health, right? How did I get there? Because of my determination and my want of bettering myself.
Sorry, did you just get a message on your computer? I can hear that like through everything. It's like tuk, tuk, tuk. But anyway, all good. But I can tell you right now, especially with vet, I think the biggest thing for me was probably, well, it was probably getting my forklift license to start with, you know, and a lot of people would probably be like, what? And like the forklift license actually played at the time. I was like, oh, I've just got to get a forklift license so I can drive a forklift and all of that, because I was working in warehousing and all of that. But then what happened was, once I sort of left like the warehousing scene, I ended up getting a job as a workplace trainer and assessor, helping people get forklift licenses. So I had to go get my TAE, or I think it was a TAA back in the day, right? And then I was qualified to be able to give people like their forklift tickets and all that. I have not driven a forklift in probably the last 10 years now, but that's what really helped. It's funny. You look at things and you think, oh yeah, but then I got that, and then that exactly, because getting into the training space, that then helped me to go, oh, you know what? I think I can do this, and I think I can do this. Oh my God, this isn't right. I need to do something here, or whatever. And that's what really helped me to get to where I was, even with the universities and stuff like that. Having a look at all the big gaps within the unis now and connect it. And like, it sometimes even blows my mind, right? Like, I'll be doing presentations with like professors, and like, is your dog barking?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, he doesn't sound too happy.
No, I think someone just rocked up. But yeah, you'll be doing presentations.
Yeah, no, well, that's the thing. Like, I'll be like on a panel with like leading professors and doctors and all of that, and I'm thinking, what the hell, man? How the hell am I on this? Yeah, totally.
All the time, 100%. I feel you, Will, because when I was selling textbooks, I used to look after Charles Darwin University, and I'd have to go up and sell into the professors. Like, and I'd be sitting there meeting with the like head of psychology, selling this particular textbook, going, oh my God, this guy could absolutely see through me. Like, I must have, I am a dickhead, like written on my forehead. Like, I know nothing. How am I sitting here selling this guy? But then I came to it that not everyone can do what I can do, which is connect at the level that I can, right? And I see myself as a bit of a conduit, right? Between bringing the real world experiences together versus how do I connect to solve a problem, which doesn't just stop with me, right? It creates impact and that flow on effect. But yeah, I completely understand what you're saying, particularly when, here I am working for Canvas, the regional director of K-12 across APAC, talking to really phenomenal teachers and heads of departments and, politicians and executive directors. And it's just little old me sitting here going, hi, didn't finish high school, hate reading, don't talk to me about like, yeah, it's really quite funny.
It is quite, it's almost surreal in a way, I sometimes feel. But even like some of my friends are like professors and doctors and all of that. And I think to myself, and I sit down and I speak with some of them, I'm like, man, this might sound weird, but like one point in my life, there's no way I would have thought that I would have friends who are like doctors and, this and that and all of that. And it's like, now it's like those are the people that I know, if that makes sense. And they laugh at me because they're like, what? We're just normal people, which they are.
Exactly. And they are, right? And I think that that's the thing. Like, ADHD is one of those things that I am so thankful that I have, right? But I remember reading and being told that there would be a grieving period when you're first diagnosed with ADHD, because you think about what could have been and, oh my gosh, I could have done. And, but it explains so much for me. But would I change it? Absolutely not. I am so thankful for my ADHD because it allows me to think differently to everyone else, right? I joke and reference that I feel like Professor X from X-Men when he goes into the Cerebro and puts the helmet on, and he can see how all of these dots connect to create a bigger picture. And that's me. And I love it, right? And I am so thankful. On the flip side, there's times like today when I'm sitting here, and as I was telling you, I hopped up to go and take my ADHD medication and came back and sat at my desk with my car keys. Like, what was I thinking? Like, just silly little things like that where I'm like, oh my God. There'll be times when I'll turn around in the kitchen and every cupboard door will be open. And I'll think, oh my God, my ADHD ass, like, I hate myself for this, let alone anyone that's living with me, So I catch myself out on it, but would I change it? Absolutely not. My diagnosis has been one of the best things I've done.
Do you ever get on your phone and like open up your phone and then you're like scrolling through and you're like, what am I even meant
Yeah,
to be doing on my phone? And then like you'll be having a shower. Oh, this happened to me yesterday. I was having a
yeah,
shower. I'm like, oh, that's right. I meant to
yeah.
send that invoice to someone. That was why I was on the phone before, you
Uh-huh.
know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's it. It's understanding those little sort of idiosyncrasies, and being kind to yourself has been a big one for me as well, like not putting so much pressure. I mean, being a woman in technology and doing what I do is exceptionally difficult sometimes as far as imposter syndrome, because again, not educated, and what do I know, I'm just a dumb girl and all of the things. Like, my imposter syndrome is sometimes rife, as is my anxiety, because I'm a people pleaser, recovering people
Mm,
pleaser, but I just
mm,
want everyone to think that, hey, I've got all of my ducks in a row and I've got all my shit in order, and look at
mm,
me, I'm so professional and I've got X, Y, and Z, and so no one is harder on me than myself. But something that I identified is that my diagnosis and my medication has actually removed a lot of that imposter syndrome and helped a lot with my
mm,
anxiety. So
mm.
it's kind of been a blessing in disguise, if that makes sense.
Do you know what? It was funny. You said this before. Like, there's normally a grieving period when you first get diagnosed with ADHD. But I can tell you right now, for me, when I got diagnosed with it, I was like, all right. You know what I mean? And only because I had already been working in the neurodiversity space for like 5 years by that point there. I had only just thought I was dyslexic, right? And then once I figured out, hang on, I'm ADHD as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I wasn't so. Oh, what? I was like, oh, right, yeah. That means that's why I'm really creative, and that's why I'm this and that, and all of these different things.
Yeah. Everything starts to make sense, right?
It did, and I also too. Then I was able to go. I was able to make sense of why I felt certain things in certain situations, like at the shop. If it's busy, I would be getting so angry, or so I now know different times to go
Mhm.
or what
Yeah.
shop to go to. Like, seriously, there's a shop down the road, right, which is only a kilometer, right, or the Woolworths and Coles, whatever you want to call it, right? But like they've blocked off like the entrances. Like, there's only two main entrance and exits, right? So cars are piled up. For me getting in there, it's like, oh, bloody pain in the ass. So I
Yeah.
drive like 5 kilometers down the road to another one where it's
Mhm.
easy to get into. I
Yeah.
can park right near the door, and it's
Mhm.
just like, and it's better to do that than
Mhm.
to put myself through. It's almost like pain,
Yeah. Yeah.
with all of those types of things, if that makes sense.
Oh, it absolutely does. It's those little coping mechanisms.
Yeah, totally, totally. Now, let's move on from that there. So, what challenges do you feel have come with taking a different path, say, to everyone else? Like, has there
Yeah.
been some things that have, like, you've been like, oh, maybe you've applied for something and someone's like, no, look, you don't have the right qualifications, or I'm not sure. What does that look like for you?
I think for me, the challenge is obviously, as I said, like my imposter syndrome, feeling
Mm,
that, to be anything in this world, you kind of need to have finished high school and gone on to get a degree to be taken seriously. And
mm,
sometimes there is a lot of that. But I think a lot of the time that's self-imposed, because I have a really phenomenal solutions engineer and he has a master's in education. And I would sit there and think, he is just, and he's my best friend. And I would sit there and go, oh my God, he is just so smart and so this and so that. And I'm just a Dumbo who hasn't finished this. What right do I think that I have? So talking about two teachers about education when I'm non-educated, right? That just kind of feels hypocritical. But I
mm,
think it's coming from that other aspect of, okay, seeing things from another lens, right? How can
mm,
this actually support not just teachers, but the whole ecosystem? So I think something that I've discovered is a lot of the time my challenges are self-imposed, because I do have a different perspective that people like to see and understand. I also think a lot of the challenges because being at high school, and I know that everyone doesn't always have a fabulous time at high school, but being at high school in a small country town, pretty much everyone that I went to school with is still in that small country town. And so
Okay.
because I sort of went off and I did different things, and when I go back, it's kind of like a bit of an outcasty thing, which is fine. It's like, I don't mind. So that was quite challenging for me to come to terms with, as I was sort of like in my early 20s going, well, why don't you want to be friends with me, right? That was a little bit weird. But aside from that, for me, challenges are just things that I can kick the door down and go, suck eggs, I proved you wrong type scenario, right? I'm very determined. I can remember having a boss telling me that I was a train wreck and my life wouldn't amount to anything. And then I ended up actually going in and selling my product to him, and he didn't even realize it was me, right? And now we're mates. But again, that was another suck eggs moment. Look at my train wreck life that isn't a train wreck, So I think it's more so about, the challenges are self-imposed, but then also the little brain things that we've just talked about. How do we find mechanisms and solutions for? So not really. I think that I really haven't had many challenges. I see it as a yay. If it wasn't for my ADHD, if I thought the way that normal people thought, I probably would have been a psychologist, because that's what I grew up. I just hated study. I'm still interested in it. Would I do it? No.
Yeah, nah, hear you there. It's like when a lot of people, at one time I was like, man, should I like try and become a doctor and then I can like share stuff about neurodiversity, and people like, don't even bother, man. It's like what you're doing is, and this isn't against people who are doctors at all. What you're doing is far greater. So you should just stick to what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, true, you know what I mean? But I would probably have to say the challenges for me, definitely taking the career path I'm taking, especially with it being an entrepreneur, social impact entrepreneur, trying to build an international brand and company. Sometimes things don't always go to plan, right? So talk about like rejection sensitivity. That has been an incredible thing to deal with. But I think probably because, and one of the biggest things that I learned very on in entrepreneurship and all of that was that I remember going to a lot of like presentations from some really big bloody presenters and all of that. And they're like, look, you just can't be in business. You can't be afraid to fail. Okay, failing plays a huge role in building a successful business, right? And then I thought to myself, why would I be afraid of failing? Because all through school, all I did was fail. Do you know?
Yeah,
Totally. So failing to me isn't an issue at all, where probably for some people it's probably the worst thing ever, but for me it's like, all right, well, let's take the next one, right? You know what I mean? And just move forward type of thing. So I've sort of seen how some of the things that were probably negative things back when I was younger are now actually positive things that are actually helping me to move forward quicker than say other people.
Yeah. 100%. And also I think that that's the thing you talked about, rejection sensitivity. That more so comes into play outside of my work life. So work, I'm considered a sales rep. The amount of times that I have been told no in my life is hilarious, and I hate that word. So I see it as a not a right now. But when, in my personal life, when my friends are like, unnecessary, like they don't do it intentionally, but they're like, oh, we had this plan, but it's not happening anymore. I'm like, oh gosh, what have I done? Like I was explaining it last night to someone about it. It really just cuts you deep, right? And you sit there and you overthink it and you're like, oh my gosh, do they not want to be my friend, or have I done something wrong? All of this stuff that comes up into it, that has minimized since I've hit my 40s. I'm kind of like, don't care, thank you, joy of missing out, not fear of missing out. But at the same token, that is a big one. It's a really, really big one that hurts.
Yeah, I think I remember like when, and it was really interesting, right? So, like I spoke about before, I used to have big drug and alcohol problems, right? And I remember I got to a point, especially once I started getting into business, I'm like, I can't be living that lifestyle and wanting to be professional and all of that, right? It just doesn't work. And so I made the decision to just cut everyone out of my life type of thing, right? Because
Yeah.
that was the connection I had with a lot of people that I used to, and it was quite interesting. As soon as I stopped, like, doing a lot of things, drinking all the time, all of that, I never heard from those people. And it
Yeah.
made me go, oh my God, like, was I only hanging around with those people because of, we would all be doing the same thing and all of that type of stuff. And to tell you the truth, that was hard, because you then go from hanging around people because you can drink with them, party, whatever, right? Then you have nobody. It's like you're starting from scratch. And that was difficult because you're in your head. You're in your head all the time and all of that. And that was the hard part there, Ray. So it took me a while to build up that confidence. Not confidence, I was always confident, but just to try and find other things or other people.
Right. And like, I think that is really difficult. It is a lonely place when you choose to pull away from your normal gang because you want more for yourself, right? And then that doesn't align. And the disconnect is that they see you as going off and trying something different and trying to be better than you are, because they know that they can't do that for themselves, right? And so that's where the disconnect is. That's really difficult. Congratulations, Will. I'm glad you made that decision.
Yeah. But don't get me wrong. If I see half of the people who I used to hang out, I don't like ignore them. Do you know what I mean? I'll say, hey man, what's going on?
Yeah, but you don't need to be a part of what you used to be a part of anymore.
But because you know what, I was only speaking to someone else about this the other day. I would realize that in that scene, right, a lot of people hang out with each other because what you have in common is like partying, drugs, all of that, right? And what I would notice is like people would invite like someone they know who is a complete and utter dickhead, right? And I'm thinking, why? And they'd be rude to you. They would, not be a nice person, didn't fit with my values. And I'm thinking, why am I hanging out with this person? This isn't even my friend. Do you know what I mean? And I was just like, why am I hanging out with these people? And I think that's what really woke me up to go, oh, hang on. Now, let's make a change, and it's actually interesting because I do have a lot of people who say to me, they're like, oh, hey, Will, look, I do smoke a little bit of weed here and there. I'm sorry. And I'm like, dude, man, at the end of the day, if that's what you want to do and all of that, that's cool. I don't mind. Do you know what I mean? You still got to be yourself, whatever. If you want to continue that lifestyle, that's cool. It's got nothing to do with me. This is how I live now, each to their own. No judgment here.
Yeah, no judgment. And I guess that's the great thing, is that everyone has a choice as to how they want to live their life, right?
Yeah, totally. I reckon this one probably flows into it well. Have you faced judgment for not having a formal diagnosis? Because did you have not a formal diagnosis, formal qualifications. Sorry. I just saw formal close. And I was like, yeah, totally. That's a dyslexic thing right there.
No, that's okay, because we were just talking about our formal diagnosis. So yeah, it makes sense. Have I faced judgment? Look, probably. Have I?
Do you give a shit? Probably not.
Not really. Like, I used to, absolutely. I used to give a shit, but do I give a shit now? No, I don't, because I think that my lived and learned experience has so much to offer. There are still times that I sit there and go, who the hell do I think I am sitting here having this conversation? But I know that it's about my experience. It's, I can talk to that because it's mine. I know how I learn. I know what some of my really great schools are doing with Canvas. I don't sit there and pedagogy and how they should do X, Y, and Z, because that's none of my business. All I want to do is help see my customers successful with the platform that I'm, showing them, right? For me, I don't pretend to be an expert in anything, because I'm not. We're always learning. That's the beauty of it. Do I get teased for some of my formal qualifications? Yes, but that's by my best friend, because, as I said, he's got a master's in education, and he teases me because I've got a certificate 3 in nail tech, which is quite interesting. Why did I stop becoming a nail technician? Was because I am a perfectionist, because I've got a little bit of autism there. And if they weren't all perfect, I would be sitting there for 3 hours doing these people's nails, and it was not cost effective. I think I was being paid like $15 an hour. Not okay. So I gave that up. And stopped being a nail tech. So yeah, do I feel judgment? Not anymore.
Sorry, I gotta say something, right, on teasing, like friendly teasing. We're not like bullying or anything like that. Yeah, with some of my friends who do have who are doctors and stuff like that, I sort of do make fun of them type of thing, because sometimes I'll be like, oh, so how about we meet at the uni or something like that, and you'll probably be because you're a doctor, you'll probably have a special car space roped off for you and all of that, and they're like, hell no, man, never get that type of stuff, or they're like, oh, I can meet you anytime, and I'm like, oh, that's right, you're Dr. Such and Such, so you can just go out and do whatever you want type of thing, so it is pretty funny. And some of my doctor friends, they don't even like being called doctor.
And I think that's the thing, right? It's so interesting, because just because you have, a degree or you're educated, there are certain things where, there's a difference between scholastically smart and street smart, right? And so just because you have this ticked, it doesn't mean that things one of my friends is super duper intelligent, but she gets lost all the time. The amount of times that she calls me going, hey, I can see this thing, where am I? Right. And, it comes to life skills. She doesn't have any, but she's one of the smartest people that I know. Right. And I think that's something that I had to keep reminding myself, is just because you've got that, it doesn't mean that you can do the things. And that's what's so wonderful about the world that we live in. Everyone is so vastly skilled, and we should all just learn from each other. Right. I know what my strengths are, and I know what my weaknesses are, and I'll call my weaknesses out straight up, because I know that it affects other people, right? I think that's what's important, the vulnerability to be yourself.
It's actually interesting, because my partner was talking about a friend of hers, right? And Suit was Ducks of the School, all of that type of stuff, right? And she finished school ages ago or whatever, but I think she was studying to become a doctor or something. I have no idea. I can't remember. And but she is just she's got a lot of issues in regards to social anxiety and stuff like that. So she can't even leave her house to be able to do what she's doing type of thing, which is quite sad type of thing, but some of the people who I saw in school who were the real smart ones, from what I can see, they're just doing average type of jobs and all of that. You know what I mean? It's not and this is the thing, right? And look, there are some real smart people who go on and do some fantastic stuff, right? But, I often see the schools, especially when it's you see this when they're getting the certain part of the year when the schools find out what their students got, the marks that they got and everything. And they're like, oh, with this, we had 9 students who got an average of blah, 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 an average of this or whatever, right? And I look at a lot of those people and I'm like, okay, well, that's great, but those aren't the people who are probably going to stand out and be something in the years to come. Well, why aren't you promoting the kids who maybe failed and say, here's the picture of the, the kids who are eventually going to succeed in life. You know what I mean? Because those are the ones who often go on and do great things.
And that's what I say. I will openly admit, I joke and I call myself lazy, but I'm not lazy. It's just if there's a faster way to get to where I need to be, I will absolutely do it, right? Because I don't like going, okay, you must do this step and then that step and that step. If I identify that this step is redundant and not necessary and I can bypass that, then I absolutely will, right? And I think that that's it's the ability to think outside the box and see things differently. And I think that's where our education system currently lets a lot of people like us down, is because you must follow this particular set of rules, which has been tried, tested, and proven, and this shapes us and pumps us out and blah, blah, blah. And then you've got your cookie cutter. And I really love all of my people that are, neurotypical. I love them, right? But also when I think about the neurodivergent people, the ability to cut corners and figure out different ways and things that's where most of our inventions come from and our major businesses, and they're not neurotypical, right? And that's the interesting thing. Our school system just does not support kids like us.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting, and it's been interesting, I think, getting older and seeing the ones who. It's funny because I saw some kids turned out exactly the way I thought they would. Like, there've been some people I went to school with, their parents wiped their backsides for them their whole life. Those kids are still having their parents wipe their backsides for them, all of that, and they haven't progressed. And then there was some that, don't get me wrong, some ended up in prison, things like that. But then I even had the ones who just fully blew me away by like, oh my God, I didn't even think you were capable of that type of thing, So it's interesting when I come to think about it sometimes, eh? But look, what we are getting pretty close to the end. We've got a few more questions to go through, but what advice would you give to others going on their own way?
So much, but I think one that really stands out is let someone else tell you no. And what I mean by that is, right, a lot of plans and aspirations and goals fail because we tell ourselves that you won't be able to do that. Why do you think that you could do that? How dare you think so big, whatever that may be. And we try and keep ourselves in this little box because that's what we're told. Let other people do that. Like, the amount of boxes that people have tried to fit me into is ridiculous. But having the courage to actually step out of that box and be unapologetically myself. Don't get me wrong. There are times where I need to, obviously, instead of having the volume on level 16, I'll probably have to turn the volume down to level 12 on Gemma, right? But at the same token, am I myself? 100%. And I think it's having that ability and that faith in yourself that it's okay to be you and just keep on keeping on, right? Because the people that won't understand you, that's okay. They're not your people. But the people that will stand back and clap and celebrate you are your people. And 9 times out of 10, those people are strangers. The amount of people from my life that are supposed to be my family supporters who I thought would, get excited about all the little things that I do, they don't, right? Because it shines a light on, because they wanted to do the thing and they're holding back. How dare I go and do the thing? But strangers are some of my biggest supporters, and they reach out and they tell me that they love what I'm doing. So I think it's have the courage to be yourself and keep doing it, right? Because there's enough cooking in the world.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I think that what's the word I'm looking for? I remember when I first got into business, and probably the listeners have probably heard this before, but when I first got into business, I'd have like a shaved head, I'd wear a suit, tie, all of that. I was trying to be like the business person, all of that, trying to be someone I wasn't, right? Over the COVID period, it was a really good time to sort of reflect on everything, right? And go, you know what? I'm going to start being me. I don't want to be the suit wearing dickhead and because what I was finding, I was attracting the wrong people. Do you know how you were just talking about like finding your tribe, or, people who you didn't even know started reaching out to you and all of that, right? Same type of thing, right? I was finding that I was circling around a lot of people that weren't bringing value to my life. It was probably the opposite. It was like I was trying to please them and they were trying to please everyone else, right? And I'm like, what am I doing? And then once I said, you know what, stuff this, I'm going to like grow my hair long again. I'm going to just wear like, you know, dress casually and feel comfortable. That was when I really started to make a lot of progress, right?
Yeah.
And that was like a real awakening call to me. And that's where I've really gotten more confidence now. And I'm just like, you know what, if someone doesn't like me because I don't really shave that much, or I've got like longer hair or whatever, stuff you. I'm building bigger things, and that's who I am, type of thing. And I often talk about this with my business partner. Like, you know, I really want my staff, once we have staff, to come to work how they are. I don't want them to have to like wear a suit or feel they have to wear a suit or wear business clothes. If someone is like full gothic or whatever like that, come like that, because I want you to be yourself and I want you to perform at your best, and you can be your best when you are yourself, you know, and that, you know what I mean? That's how I want it.
Yeah, it's the authenticity, right? Like when I was working at Amazon, you know, working with all of these people that are really big brains, and I felt like I had to be like all of these different people, and I was trying to be that. And it wasn't until I actually went, you know what, I bring something different and it's okay to be myself, that things started to unlock, right? Because it's authentic. People know when you're not being yourself, and they can smell it a mile away. So I think that that's the advice that I would give. Be okay to be yourself.
Yeah, totally. Look, I pretty much we're pretty much at the end of today. Thank you so much for coming on. But like, if people wanted to connect with you or find out more about your work, where's the best place to connect with you?
Just on LinkedIn, right? Like they can go gangbusters. You can find me on Instagram, but you know, I think what you're going to see there is my stupid cooking videos and me bad singing and doing all sorts of stuff. But hey, happy for that as well. But yeah, LinkedIn's a really great place because again, if you want authenticity, you'll absolutely see it there. And I think that's what I'm trying to do, is bring a little bit more authenticity to LinkedIn, because I think people need to be accepted for who they are. We're all just, you know, people doing this job. We should be okay to bring our full selves and show up as who we are to work, particularly on LinkedIn.
Totally. Sorry, for a while there, you used to just have Gems, right, as your name?
Yeah.
It was so incredibly hard to find you sometimes, but you've changed it since, right?
I have, yeah. I did want to try and change it to Gem AI because I thought that would be really funny. But yeah, cool. I wasn't allowed to do that. Like, you know, obviously because I used to work in tech and AI is the thing in education at the moment. So when I introduce myself, I say Gem as in a precious one or Gem AI, and then the world opens up and swallows me.
Nice. But look, thanks heaps, and we've got a listener today, Paul. I know Paul. Thanks, guys. So thanks heaps for listening. All of that there, all of those types of things. But Gemma, look, thank you so much for coming on today. It's always a pleasure. It sounds like your dog's ready to get a little bit of attention from you. But look, thank you so much for coming on. Oh, you got 3 dogs. Yeah. Oh, damn, that must drive you insane at times.
No, don't tell Redland City Council. Anyway, on that note.
Oh, really? Wait, aren't you allowed to have 3 dogs?
With permission. You have to go through all the paperwork and all of that.
And you obviously don't have the permission.
I do.
Yeah. You do have nudge, wink, wink. Eh? Awesome. Well, look, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. And look, if you haven't already done so, please go and check out all the stuff that Gemma's doing. She's doing some awesome stuff. Definitely connect with her on LinkedIn. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe, like, and follow to all of our social media platforms. And please subscribe to wherever you listen to your podcasts, and give us a like. My name's Will Wheeler. This is Neurodivergent, mates. Till next time.